This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
What he describes as a mystical experience in his late teens or early 20s has come to shape the life and career of Harrison Klein, a professional speaker on the topic of transformation and an executive coach, among other interests. He joins us in this Biz News Podcast to tell us his story and what you might glean from it. Harrison, let's start by telling our listeners and our viewers, if you would, just a little bit about yourself.
My name is Harrison Klein, and I am a quantum neurologist, a spiritual ophthalmologist, if you will. And I help people save themselves from lack and psychological pain. So I do that for CEOs, entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, creatives of all different kinds. And all these categories that I just mentioned, they all have special needs. Recently I was at a dinner with a number of extremely wealthy people, and I was sitting at a table with 12 multi-millionaires, each one making somewhere between $10 and $25 million each. And as we went robin around the table, everybody told a little bit about their story. And what I realized was that they had all had these very dramatically negative stories about themselves. They screwed up their families, they screwed up their kids, their emotional levels were all screwed. Everything that you wouldn't expect from super successful people. So, and they were all talking that way, which gave me the impetus to create a new program called Quantum Neurogenesis, Secrets of the Masters. So, people need to balance themselves out. And, these guys realized they were chasing wrong things in their lives. And so I had come through autism when I was much younger. And I had a mystical experience in my 20s that absolutely changed my life. One instant, I have no idea how long I was in the healing. It could have been 2 minutes, could have been 2 days, but one instant changed my life entirely.
What happened?
I had a moment of grace, and that moment of grace was a surrender. When I went through the surrender, it was like the release of 23 years of suppressed emotion. And I was suddenly yanked out of my body. My consciousness was yanked out of my body, sent spinning through the universe. I was experiencing velocity faster than light, clouds coming at me, colors coming at me. I was watching planets birth and die, the galaxies spin, hearing bizarre music in the background that I've never heard before. Since I interpreted that now to be choirs of angels singing when you come into the enlightenment. So, it was something like that. And when I came back into my body from that moment of grace, I was not the same human being as I was 28 years prior to that.
Harrison, what caused that? Were you hit over the head or seriously ill or what?
None of that. So it was just a moment of grace. So I have no idea what the causation was. I will tell you that a moment before that, now I was autistic, right? And I was very deeply depressed. My consciousness was very dull. My senses were very dull. I wanted no part of the world. So I was shut down, shrunk in terms of my ability to be present or anything. I was always in the past, trying to resolve all the problems that I had. And the moment before this experience yanked me out of my body at that point, or yanked my consciousness out of my body, I had one thought, and I said, what if all this pain I've been suffering for so many years and years, this hellish prison that I was in, what if all that is some sort of a path to love? What if there's love behind all that? And then bam, I had the experience. It was an amazing, moment, or a series of moments, actually. Again, I have no idea how long I was in it, but I was flooded with this sensational amount of energy. I can't even describe it. It was like 100 times, 1,000 times bigger than the energy I had prior to that moment.
Physically, Harrison, what were you doing before that moment? And then what did you do afterwards in terms of what do you do for a living, for example?
Well, at that time I was in art school and I was trying to be a gallery artist. And I was basically, some months I made the rent, some months I didn't, but I was, I was determined to do fine art. I wasn't going to do commercial. I didn't want to have anything to do with that kind of stuff. And so I was sketching a still life in my apartment at that moment. So I was 3 o'clock in the morning. I had no idea. And then, just in contemplation of the still life, and then it just hit, and what I did afterwards was my entire life changed. The first thing that happened for about 2 years, after that went on for about 2 years, I got, what is this stuff that's going on inside my consciousness? I have no idea. So I'm thrust into the unknown in a whole new place, and I'm feeling this amazing amount of energy, and suddenly all my senses are enhanced, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, but more importantly, I'm in the moment and I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing energy, I'm seeing translucence, I'm seeing body language and emotional experience with other people. I'm hearing conversations 20 yards away that I couldn't hear across the table the day before. So it's unbelievable. So, but and I'm going for about 2 years and going, what is this shit? What is this shit? And and when you get thrust into the unknown and in the moment, the reason it's unknown is because if you knew it, you would it wouldn't be the unknown.
Now, if that had happened to most people, I suspect they'd be trotting off to see their local psychologist. What did you do?
Yeah, there is a point where when you begin to experience the energy, what you find out is that, you are not in relation to the world. The world is in relation to you. So everything that is experienced is coming from you, as opposed to you being slapped around by what's going on, what the happening is outside of you. So it's all coming from you. So when you make that realization, you either go crazy or you're an explorer into what are your powers. So there are many people who go crazy. They have this the Japanese call this experience a satori. It's a satori is the Japanese word for sudden enlightenment. The English language doesn't have a word for it, but it's a sudden enlightenment. And so people who experience it like I did out of pure surprise, basically, monks take 20 years to meditate into this experience and stuff, but people who experience it as a surprise like I did, many of them, actually think they're going crazy. And because what they're seeing is their thoughts are experiencing, are showing their lives. So they think about running, suddenly they see somebody running. They think about a sign and suddenly that sign appears, et cetera, et cetera. So, the power that we have as a point of awareness is really the God power, if you will, in the image and likeness of God, the creative powers that we have. And when you come into the higher state of consciousness with all this amazing energy, what you're seeing is you, all this stuff coming from you. And there's no doubt of that, which, if you have very low self-esteem and you see, dark stuff because your thoughts are dark, you get really scared, incredibly scared. So they think they're going crazy. But the people who are willing to explore it, they become the sages, they become the visionaries, they become the unified artists of the world, the unification with source. And it's a dramatic shift, not only in your consciousness, but the world around you. So,
Well, Harrison, if you would, what happened then in the intervening years between that moment and now in 2021? What did you do and how did you get to where you're at?
well, it became apparent to me that, I have a mission on this earth, that I'm here for a reason. The reason I'm here is basically twofold, which is, and the reason we're all here is the same twofold purposes, which is, one is to experience joy, and the other one is to expand the universe. Now, how we do that is our own choice, but those are the two reasons why we incarnate into a body. So what this gave me was enormous insight into a number of different things, because now, since it's all coming from me, all the exploration is inside. So you call that an awakening. Carl Jung said, he who focuses or he who looks outside experiences the world. He who looks inside awakens. So this is the awakening of the Buddha, the Jesus, the Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call that. And so what I did in the years after that was that I became, a teacher. I became a teacher of the path to higher consciousness, of the experiences of eliminating false beliefs and coming into higher truths, and the path of, healing people, the path of, creating a world that will satisfy, the needs of everyone. So I'm on that path. I've been on that path for 40 years now, and I became a teacher. So for several years in the interim, I was a high school teacher. Then I became a financial, I guess you would call it a broker, I guess, but I was really the marketing manager for a brokerage. So, but they found out I came in to become a stockbroker. They found out I could write. They moved me into they moved me into marketing, and from marketing, I was creating financial seminars for them. I met a gentleman there by the name of Tarquin Olivier. You're probably in the right age to remember Sir Laurence Olivier. He was Laurence Olivier's only son, and he and I created a movie. So he and I created a Hollywood movie, and we raised $32 million. We did this movie called Ataturk. We started to do this movie called Ataturk, and then 9/11 happened, and 9/11 just jumbled and crumbled everything, because Ataturk was the story, the epic story of the Turkish president who busted the feudal system in Turkey, who was the only, I guess, general to beat the U.S., the Allied forces in World War I, because they were on the side of the Germans in World War I. And when the Allies came into Turkey after winning World War I, they were about to do the same thing they did to Germany. They were going to break it up and split the land among the Allies. But Ataturk negotiated the peace so skillfully that he kept Turkey together and became the father of that country. He's very famous in Europe. The Americans don't know much about him. But Tarquin married a Turkish girl, and he wanted to do this movie as an homage to her. So Ataturk was a great leader. He busted the Turkish feudal system, and he took Turkey into the 20th century, because up until that time, it was in the 1920s, they were still in horse and buggy carriages, and they were having, those knee knickers and fezzes and, bizarre kind of clothing. And then he brought them into motor cars. He brought them into technology. He brought them into, long pants and stuff. And, it changed the whole direction of all of Turkey. So
as you were sitting, let's go back to our dinner, your dinner. You're sitting at this table and surrounded by millionaires.
Yeah. Multi-millionaires.
Multi-millionaires. So, well, a million here, a billion there. Did you sense that any of them had anything comparable to what you had experienced?
No, they had not. But I will tell you this, that there are millions of people who have experienced what I've experienced, and part of them are the visionaries of the world. When artists and high, intensely focused people are in their states of focus and concentration and contemplation, what happens is their consciousness shifts a little bit, and they come into unification. Like, this is why artists are, so great at some of the things they do, but have no emotional control. So they take heroin, they do all these other things, but during their art, they are in unification with source, because that's the most important thing to them. Their value, that's the highest value they have. So what happens is that after they come out of the unification, because they don't understand that it is a holistic experience, they understand that the feeling of it being sensational, incredible inside, and the expression of the self. When they come out of it, they don't realize that, that they can be in unification with their emotional selves as well. So none of these guys had any of that experience. Some of them had mystical experiences. When I was speaking at the National Health Institute in Washington, D.C., I had about 75 or 79 doctors in the room. And I was speaking there and I said, how many people here, and they were surgeons and other things like that. I said, how many people here have had a mystical experience? How many of you guys have had a mystical experience? And about 90% of the people in the room raised their hands. So doctors that restore life, have these incredible experiences as well, a lot of them. But I've not known very many business people who have, although I've known many people who have had it that have become business people. But, these guys did not. So these guys were people who focused and chased success. They chased success, they chased money, and they, their stories were, distorted belief systems on what is important to their living. They believed in finances being the bridge to happiness. They believed in, the fact that power gives them, internal authority. They believed in a number of different things. They were really, our world imprisons us in these false beliefs. And people who chase that at the expense of their own self-development, they find versions of slavery in these things, and they're somewhat slaves by nature. So, the road to balance is the road to understanding the self-knowledge at the deepest levels. And balance, there is no real thing such as balance, but what there is, the ability to be in a steady state of well-being. And these guys have peaks and dips in their emotional daily things that are really dramatic. And, they are on a short leash in the control of those emotions, because they're looking to the outside as opposed to the inside to experience themselves. So
For our listeners and viewers, what would you suggest if they wanted to reach something approaching what you did? What should they do?
well, I have developed a methodology called quantum neurogenesis. Quantum is the understanding of what is the field beneath the atom, the subatomic experience. Subatomic field, when you come down to it, basically is the level below the atom, the level below the electron, the level below the leptons, all that, which is really the behavior of spirit. It comes down to the quantum field as the behavior of spirit. So quantum is that part of it. Neurogenesis is the neurological fusion of, the physical experience with the brain experience. So we create new neurons as we learn new things. It's the neural pathways in our head. So the fusion of 4,000 years of wisdom and the latest neurological research, science research, is what I've created. So there is a pathway to coming into higher consciousness. That pathway is what I teach. I have a free masterclass actually coming up on September the 23rd. People can register now. It's open for registration. And, we're giving away enormously valuable, not only information, but, we're busting false beliefs. We're busting, very extraordinary kinds of patterns and alignments that people have had that don't serve them. The quantum neurogenesis is at masterclass. I can put it in the chat if you want, but masterclass dot small shifts, big changes, all one word, smallshiftsbigchanges.com. And that's a masterclass. And for your listeners, I'm going to give them a gift. That masterclass is $200 and I believe $47, or maybe it's $97, but we're going to let your people come for free. So they have to, when they're in it, when they go to masterclass.smallshiftsbigchanges, there is a place on the front registration page that is a coupon. It's a coupon code. If you put the words AHA in there, AH-HA, you will bypass the shopping cart and get in for free. I'm doing that as a gift for your listeners and for your people.
That's very nice, Harrison. You have really pricked our imaginations here, to say the least. But what would you like to add that we haven't had a chance to talk about?
Well, the bottom line for, my life and for, I believe, the life of those who I touch is that the ultimate end result is both elevation and happiness. And then we create a foundation for happiness within us. We come into the self-esteem and steady state of well-being. From there, we establish our success, and we establish, the ability to manifest as we please, because we become stronger, we become much more connected, unified with source, and of course then we have the powers of source. So when we're not separate from source, when we are in the state of non-separation, we have all the powers of source. And so what I hope for all people is to come into this ability to expand themselves. Every time we go into anything that it resembles and has the intent of growth, it's about expanding our capabilities, right? So my purpose and my experience with people is that I expand their capabilities. That's what I do. So I expand their capabilities, and I expand their emotional states of well-being. And so no matter what they have, whether it's a difficult family situation, problems with their kids, business lack of finances or lack of integrity or whatever the case may be, all that is solvable. It's simply solvable by the understanding of who we are. And so I use what Socrates used in his ability to make world history, which was what he called a heuristic method. Heurism is where you don't give people information, you give them experience, number one. And number two is you don't tell them what it is that you're doing. You actually ask them questions and lead them to the discovery of what they want to have happen. And when you're giving somebody information or giving someone a platform or situation, you're giving them the booby prize. When you lead them to discover what that is inside of themselves, they own it, and then it can never be taken away from them as the exploration continues on.
And one last thing, would you repeat your website again?
Yes, I would. So the masterclass that we're doing is the word masterclass, and then dot, and then small shifts, big changes, one word, small shifts, SHIFTS, big changes.com. Masterclass.smallshiftsbigchanges. You can go there, register for the class. I would love to have all of you. I will, we're giving away gifts. We give free ebooks and all kinds of other different things that are part of our class. A lot of exercises, a lot of ways to move into the experience as opposed to the information. And if anybody out there who is in your audience wants to joint venture with us, I'd also love that, because we are looking to do a sensational launch and make as Steve Jobs said, a dent in the universe. We want to make a dent in the universe, and we want to elevate as many people as we possibly can. So the joint venture, if you're anybody out there who has an internet presence and wants to joint venture and partner with us, we have an extremely generous program, and that is JV, the letters JV.smallshiftsbigchanges.com. So those are the two things. If you want to joint venture with us, become a partner in my business. We pay lifetime residuals, and we have incentives to give you a free luxury car. So we give away Mercedes, Audis, BMWs, and Lexuses. So
better than Mary Kay.
Mary Kay has nothing on me.
Yeah, okay.
You've been watching the Biz News Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. Thanks for watching.